What are the two main illusions in Of Mice and Men? Firstly, what's an illusion? An illusion is a figure of speech that links either explicitly or implicitly to an external conflict. What does that mean? Well, it means something in one text that links to another, or a series of texts. There are two main allusions in Of Mice and Men. One is to John Milton's epic poem Paradise Lost. The second is to the stories of King Arthur as written down by Sir Thomas Malory. So how does a short 20th century American novel allude to an English 17th century 300-page poem? You should be able to recognise that George shares the same surname as John Milton. So who was he, and what is Paradise Lost? John Milton was born in 1608 and lived through the English Civil War. He lived to see the Republican Revolution he supported decay into a dictatorship and eventually be replaced by a new monarchy. In the later years of his life, he focused on Paradise Lost, an epic fantasy poem that describes how Lucifer and other angels in heaven lose a war against God, are banished into hell, and then how Adam and Eve are thrown out of the Garden of Eden. How could Of Mice and Men possibly allude to all this? Well, George Milton is the storyteller in the novel. He tells a dream, which is a paradise, an Eden or a heaven. The death of Curly's wife and Lenny's death means that George will never find paradise. The boss of the farm is described as a pretty nice fella, gets pretty mad sometimes. He tells George and Lenny he has his eye on them, which is a symbol of God, but then is never seen or heard of again. When the boss gets mad, he treats Crooks badly. He gives him hell when he's bad. But the stable book don't give a damn about that. He reads a lot, got books in his room. Crooks is described as a proud and aloof man, and his eyes glittered with intensity. In Paradise Lost, Satan is proud and has eyes that sparkling blaze. Now, I'm not saying that Crooks is Satan. That would be Steinbeck buying into traditional racist depictions of the devil as a black man. And Steinbeck is not racist. His sympathy is with Crooks and everyone who's discriminated against. But I would suggest that the world of the farm alludes to the universe described in Paradise Lost, and part of Crooks' character links to these allusions. Crooks is isolated to his own room. Satan is put in hell. Crooks reads books and prizes knowledge. He says, "I read plenty of books out here. Nobody gets to heaven and nobody gets no land." In Paradise Lost, Satan works by whispering ideas and doubts in Eve's ear. Crooks tries to torment Lenny with the thought that George might leave him. The boxes that men keep their things in are apple boxes. Apples are symbolic of the fruit that Eve ate from the tree of knowledge. Curly's wife suggests that she could cause Crook to hang from a tree. Curly's wife symbolises many of the features of Eve married to Adam, one of the sons of God, and is ultimately blamed for her own death. The novel begins and ends by a river, which is an allusion to the river that flowed through the Garden of Eden. There are more allusions to Paradise Lost, but that's enough to be going on with for now. Steinbeck said that Paradise Lost was one of his favourite books when he was growing up. Another of his favourites was Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur. These were among the first British stories to be printed by Caxton's Press in 1485. Malory had died in prison in 1471. He'd been unfortunate to pick the wrong side in another civil war. While in prison, he focused on writing the stories of Arthur for his modern English audience. Again, how could a 1930s short American novel allude to a collection of medieval Arthurian legends? George's Christian name is that of St. George, who is the Crusader saint worshipped by medieval knights. What is important to Malory is male friendship. In Malory's stories, his knights prefer to travel the land in twos. They value their bond of brotherhood above every other relationship. Arthur shares a deep friendship with Lancelot. Lancelot also shares a deep friendship with Gawain, and so on. Slim is described as the prince of the ranch and has qualities that all the men look up to and aspire to. But Malory's story also tells of the decay and destruction of Arthur's Camelot. His wife betrays him with his friend. His son is unworthy. It ends in civil war and death. When Arthur dies, the dream of Camelot dies with him. The surviving knights go their separate ways, become terribly alone. By alluding to two ancient texts that explore mythical fantasies, Steinbeck is able to anchor his little book with its simple story into a much larger tradition. You can read of Mice and Men simply from the perspectives of particular characters meeting up on a farm and the drama it produces. You can also engage with the themes and historical context that the story explores. But you might also appreciate how Steinbeck connects his writing to much older ideas and tries to make them modern and relevant for his audience. In my last video in this series, I will explore the learning question, what is the significance of Steinbeck's use of hands in Of Mice and Men? So until next time, thank you for listening.